Public hearing for consideration of ZTA Zone Text Amendment 15-002, amendment to various chapters within Title 17 of the Corona Municipal Code to establish a definition for craft brewery, to allow craft breweries in the commercial and industrial zones, and to require an alcoholic beverage permit for craft breweries to be reviewed by the zoning text administrator. Joanne Coletta.
Yes, thank you very much. And I will be including agenda item 4B as well in this presentation because they're both related and deal with the same topic.
Okay.
The amendments that are being requested this evening is a change to our zoning ordinance, which is Title 17 of the Corona Municipal Code, as well as certain specific plans. And what it will do, it will add craft breweries as a permitted use in our commercial and industrial zones. Title 17 governs certain areas within the city, and then in addition to that, the city does have several specific plans that have their own land use districts. So with Title 17 itself, the amendment will actually add a definition because we currently do not have one. I'm not going to read this definition in entirety, but it was important for us to establish it. But basically, a brewery that's craft in nature, it's small, it's independently operated, it produces a very limited quantity of its product, and then it also has the ability to sell that product from its premise as well as provide for the on-site consumption. So that is what that definition does there. The second thing it will do, it will actually add it as a listed land use in our commercial zones that are governed by Title 17. Those are identified as C2 and C3, and we also have a commercial professional office zone. Craft breweries are going to be shown as a permitted use in the C2 and C3 zone because we currently do not have that use listed. It will also do the same thing in our industrial zones, which are governed by a different chapter, and that will be included in all of those manufacturing zones that are identified M1 through M4. Although we don't have craft brewery listed in our industrial zones, it's where we have the most flexibility right now in making a determination that this use would be similar in nature to another use that's listed in those zones because it is a manufacturer of a product. I've had the ability to consider it similar to bottling as well as food processing and manufacturing. However, we really don't have a consistent application in how we apply it in land use designations. So that's really what this amendment does this evening. It identifies it specifically and it allows us to apply it consistently throughout the city. Finally, with respect to the specific plans, there are 5 of them that are being amended this evening. 3 of them already allow for micro or craft breweries, and that is the North Main Street specific plan, the downtown specific plan, and the Corona Magnolia specific plan. Our specific plans are a little bit more updated, so they have land uses that are more up to date than our traditional zoning ordinance. So all we're doing with those specific plans is actually expanding them to additional land uses. The column that you see there in the middle is where they are currently allowed, and the column on the right is where we're adding them to additional districts. And those include some of those light manufacturing and business park districts. There are 2 specific plans that are silent on the use, that is El Cerrito and Corona Vista. Those were chosen because they do have substantial commercial area that is highly accessible. El Cerrito is known where the Crossing Shopping Center is, and Corona Vista is the commercial properties along Ontario, on California, and Compton. So we're just adding those land uses as well. This amendment also requires that the zoning administrator issue an alcoholic beverage permit for craft breweries. We currently do this for restaurants that serve alcohol, so we want to be consistent with that. We talked about this at the Infrastructure Committee earlier this year, which prompted this amendment. And finally, as you noticed in your staff report, we did research other cities as well, and we provided that information to you, showing you how they were classifying craft breweries as well as permitting them. We are recommending approval of all the amendments this evening, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay. Now, we've had a couple of craft breweries. I know Main Street may have been the first one by Lamppost Pizza, and then Taps, of course, and then we've got Skyland. Have we had any issues with any of those?
No, we have not had any issues in terms of compliance with their alcohol permits or any issues in terms of police activity.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions before we open the public hearing? Go ahead, Karen. Yeah.
Couldn't get the mic on, sorry. So basically, if we didn't approve this tonight, we still have three specific plan areas that can have a craft brewery, correct?
Yes.
So we're just expanding it, so it's not actually introducing anything new to the community.
That is correct. And what I didn't mention when we talked about this in committee, because these are small operators and they're small businesses, the intent was to provide these businesses more opportunity in finding suitable locations. Space is always an issue, as well as rental prices, so we didn't want to be too restrictive. I do not believe you're going to find this in all of the zones. It was really just an opportunity for these smaller businesses to get up and started. So
what other cities do you know off the top of your head that actually have these smaller breweries around?
City of Temecula, their latest article that we read, they are now up to 10, and I believe in 2012 they only had 1. The City of Riverside has a well-versed ordinance on how they regulate breweries, as well as the City of Anaheim.
Yeah, my comment is that they're not much different than a wine bar in the sense this is more of a social for our younger. We've been asked to have a social place so they can go that's not a full-fledged bar. This is the up-and-coming social place for our young group of residents. So I know that I have been asked to support this because it's another opportunity to give a social context as well as another business. But I just wanted to point out that if we've already have it, the opportunity, we're just expanding it. Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Haley?
Thank you. Mr. Daly, the primary ingredient in beer is water. Could you address the water issue with the city?
Sure. We worked with the planning department on the restrictions to the amount of water that could be used by these breweries, and we obviously didn't want a Miller Brewery sized place. The number of the gallons per day or the barrels we allow equates to about 3 homes. The water usage for about 3 homes, about 90 units, 30 units. So that's at max. So the max they can use is 90 units a month, which is a very small amount of water for a brewery or any kind of manufacturing. So we looked at it and we thought that was a very reasonable number.
Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Mr. Fox?
Yes, I know Anaheim's been mentioned. I wanted to say something about that. I grew up in downtown Anaheim, and I noticed that's probably no area that reminds me of our current 6th Street as downtown Anaheim in the 70s. It was exact same. There wasn't anything charming about it like there is even in Old Town Orange. Basically, it had to be kind of cleaned off and restarted. The way they did it over the past couple decades began with housing and then retail, restaurants, and the last thing they put in was, I know it's been referred to the packing house, the place where they have some breweries. It wasn't first. It was at the end. It was the icing on the cake, or the foam on the cake, I guess, in this sense. But to do it, and what I'm thinking of primarily is 6th Street and Main. If you open that area up to this, I just don't think it's the right time. I think other things need to be focused upon. I think eventually they'd have to be kind of cleared off, so you'd want people to put in housing and get rooftops, and then you're going to get the hipster crowd that people are hoping for. But just to open that up currently, I just don't feel like that's fits our vision of the 6th Street. Where they're talking about expanding it.
Yeah, but downtown it's already allowed.
I thought I saw a picture here where it was.
No, see, the downtown's allowed. It's just more of the business park areas, some of the other outlying areas, but downtown it's currently allowed. I think what you'll see is, and I think what you bring up is a good point, that it was last, but I think that may be more of a reflection on the fact that craft brewery didn't exist in the 70s. And so that's probably why you see it more as coming in later. It's kind of like wineries. I mean, Temecula didn't exist in the 70s like you see today with the wineries. And so I think it's a transition in really how it's happened here. I think San Marcos was one of the first cities in Southern California that had craft breweries, and they've had them probably about 8 or 10 years. And so then it kind of spread out from there, but that's partly why I think you saw it more at the end and then at the beginning. I think that's really how it's transformed. It's just it didn't exist. So, I'm not saying that having the restaurants first wouldn't be better, but we have to. I think we have a demand now to do this, and it's a chicken or egg. I mean, I don't know which will come first, but we need to do something in some of our areas, and we have businesses that want to open these type of businesses here locally. So I think personally, I think it's a good use. I mean, it's not like we're going to have hundreds of them because we don't have hundreds of spaces that they would necessarily go into. Did you have anything, Jason? Or
No, I'll just make the motion to approve it.
well, we have to do the public hearing
Oh,
first.
I'm sorry. Then I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Ms. Mobley, do you have any correspondence regarding this item?
I do not.
Okay. I do have one speaker card. Kurt Bennett, if you could come up and please give your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I've asked to speak today on this issue. I'm not opposed per se to microbreweries or even businesses that serve alcohol. But what I would like to see is a higher level of scrutiny for businesses that do provide alcohol. I see that this amendment, while it does simplify the approval process by taking it off of the city council and planning commissions and placing it upon the planning director, I would prefer to see these issues come before this body for approval specifically. I don't want to see 6th Street turn into a pub crawl. I understand that the microbreweries in Temecula have become a draw for a lot of business and things like that, but I would like to see those specific businesses have to come and present to the council what else are they bringing to the party besides just another alcoholic beverage. I hold this opinion because I believe that alcohol is probably the single most destructive thing humans have ever created in terms of what it does to families and people. However, it is a legal substance, and I believe, and myself, I do from time to time strike a blow for liberty, as Harry Truman once said. But in terms of what I would like to see, I would prefer that all of the specific plans be altered and amended so that anybody serving alcoholic beverages within the downtown area, the whole 6th Street corridor, that be amended, that those people wishing to serve alcohol would present it here before the council. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but I know, no, it's okay. It's just that knowing businesses that have opened either microbreweries, distilleries, or even restaurants with liquor license, the ABC is far worse than the city of Corona would ever be in approving it, and they do also go to the police department